I'm Allison Breininger, and this is my husband, Sean. We were high school sweethearts, and we just celebrated our 20-year wedding anniversary. In 2009, we adopted our daughter, Maya, from Haiti, and she is now a teenager.
In 2011, I was diagnosed with Fanconi anemia. Fanconi anemia is a rare genetic disorder that leads to bone marrow failure and cancers at a rate of 700 times that of the general population. Since 2011, I've had a bone marrow transplant and bladder cancer, tongue cancer, throat cancer, gum cancer, and over 150 skin cancers.
Being a caregiver for Sean all these years has meant being by his side through every appointment and procedure and hospitalization. It means doing wound care and hooking him up to an IV or a feeding tube. It means fighting with insurance and paying all the bills and setting up appointments and watching for symptom management. It's a lot. And what I've realized over this more than decade of time of being a caregiver is that caregivers like me, we're a huge part of the picture, and yet we're so often unseen, unnoticed, unsupported. And this reminded me of the artistic concept of the negative space. In that when you're looking at a painting, there's something in the middle, something that your eye is drawn to. And that's what you put all your focus on. But everything around it is called the negative space. Those are parts of the picture that are important. Without that, the whole picture is different. And yet we very often ignore it. We don't pay attention to it. And so when I thought about that, I realized that's the same is true about caregivers. That we are often in the negative space. Without us, the whole picture would be different. And yet we're very often unseen, unnoticed, unappreciated, unsupported. And so a few years ago, I started writing, and I started a website called The Negative Space. There on that blog, I just started writing honestly and openly. I started writing without sugarcoating, without bright-siding. I just told the truth. And when I did that, people started to reach out to me saying, "You have my words," or "I didn't realize we were allowed to say these things," or "I wish I could say these things, but my family would never allow it." And once I started doing that, I realized there was a need out there for this kind of honesty, this reality of what it's really like to be a caregiver. There was a need that was not being met. And from that moment on, it's all I wanted to do. In the summer of 2021, I took a huge leap. I left my job as the director of an AmeriCorps program to launch The Negative Space as a nonprofit. I had really loved that job, but this felt like the perfect way to connect my 20 years of experience in education and training and creating content and coaching with my 10 years of experience as a caregiver to really fuel this passion I had that was filling an unmet need.
I've been able to contribute my experience with nonprofit management that I haven't been able to use directly since my diagnosis. And it's been a great honor for me to work with Allison on The Negative Space.
I've known Allison for 15 plus years now, and when I first met her, it was in the context of her being our coach. And even back then, she always was really skilled at helping people think through hard situations, figuring out what tools and resources were available to them. And I see her bringing those same strengths now to caregivers.
The mission of The Negative Space is to change the way caregivers are seen and supported.
The way that we accomplish this is two-pronged. We provide direct services to caregivers, and we provide education and resources and tools to those who support them or who could be supporting them. Because we know it's not enough for them to feel seen and supported just when they're with us. We want to change the way they're seen and supported in every part of their life. Some of the services that we provide directly to caregivers include one-on-one coaching, webinars, a podcast, and daily social media content.
It is nearly impossible to overstate the impact that Allison and Negative Space have had on me. You know, knowing I can reach out to her when I really need someone who gets it and who's walked similar roads and maybe might know where I could trip and what I should bring with me and what to look out for has been huge, because it's incredibly isolating to be a spousal caregiver at the age I am.
It has been life-changing and life-giving for me to know that I wasn't alone, knowing that it's okay to feel the way that we feel, and it's okay to need help and to reach out for help.
We also provide education to the people who support caregivers or who could be providing support to them.
For example, we consult with nonprofit organizations, ones who typically focus on patients, but are overlooking the fact that caregivers are there as well, and we help them see how they could be providing support to them. We speak to medical students, practitioners, faith leaders about what it's like to be a caregiver, and really help them give them strategies about how to better support the caregivers who are in their realms. And in our social media and in our podcast content, we always include ways that informal supporters like family and friends can be more intentionally and effectively showing up for the caregivers in their lives.
With Allison as our lived experience guide, we've been very intentional about integrating caregiver acknowledgement and support in nearly every aspect of what we do here at FARF. We've made changes to our website with the caregiver in mind. We now have a dedicated space for caregivers in our newsletter. We've ensured that caregiver support sessions are offered throughout the entire year, both virtually and in person. We launched a caregiver coaching scholarship program for those in the FA community.
I needed someone to talk to. So I turned to Allison at the Negative Space, and it was a life-changing. Not only does she understand and get it, but she listens and she gives hope and encouragement when sometimes there isn't.
Another service we provide are caregiver gift boxes. These are an important part of our mission because they are where our two goals meet.
They provide a direct service to caregivers, showering them with a slew of I'm part of the story themed items. Items that were thoughtfully chosen, knowing that they're things that they're going to need and they're going to use. And the boxes model for supporters what caregivers need and provide them with an easy way to show up for the caregivers in their lives.
The caregiver box was a bit of a hug. It was acknowledgement from friends that they saw me. So every time I wear the socks, or when I enjoy my morning coffee or my afternoon tea in the mug, I am reminded that I am a part of the story.
A colleague sent me one of Allison's caregiver care packages, and it was the first time I felt seen in the role I was now in, and the first time maybe I really saw myself in that role. And that was huge. I still remember that day.
That box arrived on our doorstep. It changed our lives.
At the Negative Space, we are dedicated to supporting as many caregivers as we can, and we never want cost to be a deterrent.
We know that a lot of caregivers have to leave their jobs or work less in order to support their families when they're caregivers, and some of them have mounting medical bills.
Our goal is to be able to provide all of our services at little to no cost for caregivers, but to do that, we need your help.
Consider showing up for caregivers everywhere by partnering with us in this really important work.
Join us and be part of the story.
I am part of the story.
I'm part of the story.
I'm part of the story.